Hey snackers, this is Kareem.
Hey everyone, Matt here.
Welcome to episode 156 of Snack Minute.
Kareem, we're doing a classic Kareem and Matt episode again.
Yeah, they're my favorite, man. The part that I'm gonna talk to you about today is getting data using HTTP Event Collectors. So if
Okay.
you head over to settings and data inputs for within Splunk, like after I log in, you have many options here to create inputs, right? You can upload files in CSV format. You can connect via TCP, UDP, whatever it is, right? But for the sake of this conversation, because most of our products, most of the Cisco products have really good APIs and really good webhooks that you can leverage. What we need to create is essentially create a webhook receiver, which is an HTTP event collector. And this allows you to go in here and say, okay, I'm going to create a new token. And this is lets you define the HTTP event collector, essentially. You and I both have done this where we create we leverage some type of HTTP collector to see what data is coming, whether you're building a WebEx bot or whatever, right?
hmm
And so you go in here and you say, okay, I'm going to give it a name. Um, Wonder if it's going to let me skip to just show the snackers know. So I actually have to go through this. So I'll give you a name, snack minute collector, and then I can go in and say, what is it that, first of all, where is it going to go in? So think of indexes as a giant database. So you need to define, are you pumping this data into the main index with everything else, or do you want to separate? Maybe you're getting data out of Catalyst Center and you're getting data in Meraki, and you want these to be in different indexes. So when you search them, you can search specifically based on the controller, or you can have it all be pumped into main, and so you have that you're indexing everything, and you can perform searches on it and build reports on one giant database. So
Well,
just how you design it, right? In this case, I would say main, and then it's as easy as the other thing is that's important also is when you can define a source type. Sometimes, and this is important. Sometimes you need to go and say, I know that from this source, which is in our case, because we're going to leverage the Meraki dashboard, the data coming out of the webhooks are going to be JSON format. So this is going to be a JSON format that's coming into that collector. And then I can just simply review this, and that's it. Now you have a token value. That token value allows you to create that secure connection between the Splunk index and then
whatever
you're
is
going to
providing the data.
exactly. And I'm not going too much into details, Matt, here because I wrote a tutorial on how to do this step by step. Snackers will make sure that tutorial is available somewhere here or in the description for you. But then now that we have a collector, we have an idea of what it is. I can simply go back to my Meraki dashboard, and I'm using my instance of the Meraki dashboard here. And if you hover over to network wide, I'm sorry, organization and API and webhooks, this is where we're going to create a webhook to say whatever alerts that happen in the Meraki dashboard, I'm going to pump it out into that index, into that collector that we just created together, right?
Okay.
But there is a step to this. Meraki, in order for Meraki to connect to other services and pump webhook out to these services, you have to templatize it. And Meraki uses liquid templating. Think of it as Jinja templating, but it's different, right? It's a templating language. And you have to go and create a template. There are standard templates that come pre-built in with your Meraki dashboard, ServiceNow, WebEx, and these, have the kind of like the format of what WebEx expects in order for it to post a proper message. So I build my own Splunk template. I shared this template with you in the tutorial as well, so you don't have to go figure it out. But if we click on it real quick here, it gives you an idea of what the template looks like. It's a copy of the standard Meraki template where this is the message, the body that's going to be shipped out whenever an alert happens, right? and this is the template format for it. You got to define a header, and this is key here because this is where it
The tokens
authenticates,
use.
right? And so anytime you, and this is in the Splunk documentation, anytime you want to connect to a HEC is what they call it, a HTTP Event Collector. Anytime you want to connect to a HEC or any API, right, for Splunk, you have to pass the authorization key. We talk about bearer token. This is Splunk, and then followed by the token, which is the same token that we generated here. So that's the token you got to pass.
Cool.
And then you can go and test out that webhook data, and it'll push out an alert to Splunk. And so there's one more step here, and this is specific to Meraki. Is now that I've created this webhook event, I have to go and specify the Splunk collector webhook. When does it fire? Under what alerts? You can say everything, or you can specify. So if I go out to network wide and I go in alerts, you have to go do this step. This webhook, and you can select it actually, like in the plus, you type in webhook. Meraki's gonna
Meraki will pick it up.
We'll pick it up for you.
Right.
But you specify this webhook. In this case, I have as a default recipient, so anything that I select here is going to be shipped out to Splunk, and that's it. Anytime now you can watch for alerts. Let me see if I have any alerts in the Splunk that can show our snackers real quick. So this is something I can go search and report, and I could pull from my search history here in my Meraki index. This is where my connection happens. I can see what came from my Meraki dashboard, and you can see here some alerts back in yesterday, actually, or yesterday to the day we recorded this episode. And you can see that the template here has been recognized by Splunk. It came in, and I can search on values. I can build dashboard based on these values, and I can watch for alerts. And you can expand on that, and there's an entire security play, especially when you connect your ICE instances or your firewalls. So it's pretty straightforward. It's simple. It's not that convoluted. It takes a little bit of time to get started with it, but you can see how easy it is to integrate Splunk with your devices.
Yeah, and what we've done now is we've built a no-code connection in a webhook to a platform where we're a little bit more comfortable dealing with the data, right? If we dump this out into a raw JSON file, it would be tough to even see what data points are out there. I mean, JSON's relatively readable, but it's not, and it looks like we can filter on fields. It looks like we can dig into specific subsets of data in here. I mean, it makes it a lot easier to use. And then the reporting aspect on it, that probably is huge. I mean, Meraki has some built-in reports to the dashboard, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they've figured out exactly what your business needs for that kind of situation. And so it's exciting that we can so quickly and easily kind of just create a data pool or a data lake of our events from the Meraki dashboard. And so I could easily see all kinds of use cases from various platforms, not just Meraki, being able to leverage Splunk in this way. Really, really cool stuff, Kareem. I mean, just out of the box.
And the other thing is, like, now, if you have different platforms or different controllers running, that you want to aggregate all the data to see, maybe you're managing on-prem and in the cloud, and you have thousand eyes in between all of that, and you're pumping all this data into a single view, I can start creating rules here to say, where are my, I know we have agents everywhere with thousand eyes, and we can pump data out via webhooks. We've seen an episode around that on Snack Minute. You can aggregate all this data and build like rules and dashboards and see if there are any security holes as well, where you can tap into all of that with the data that you have. The one thing that I learned as I'm doing this is, you can install and set up Splunk for free. Part of the tutorial, the initial step is I show you how to get your hands on an instance of Splunk or install your own Splunk enterprise. But the thing that you got to be mindful of is Splunk licenses is charged per gigabyte on the amount of data that gets pumped into it.
Clever.
Right. And yeah, it's pretty smart actually. And so you got to be mindful what kind of data you're going to get from your controllers. So
Mm.
if you dump everything within Splunk, do you need it? And if you do, you're going to pay for it, right? Because that the size of that index matters.
You start to see this through all observability plays, which is the data is the thing of value, and being able to figure out what data is valuable and how often it's valuable really comes into play. So that's a really good call out, Kareem, because if I'm sitting here going, well, I can just throw everything in here, blah, 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 that actually has a downstream ramification on Splunk's ability to do its job appropriately.
That too.
Yeah, that's a cool. I mean, that's a good caveat to call out as people are kind of looking at building out observability solutions, is to say, hey, what's actually of interest to me, and how often do I need that information?
Yeah. So, I mean, this is kind of an introduction to Splunk. It gives you, I'm just touching the surface on the capabilities that it has. Check out that tutorial. I tried to document every single step that and the gotchas that I ran into to make it easy for you, Snacker, to follow along. But yeah, and hopefully you enjoyed this one, Matt.
Yeah, I did, Kareem. Thanks so much for showing me and showing us how to get started with Splunk. It was a great intro to it. I'm not scared of it anymore.
Good. Maybe
So I
you do the
appreciate it.
tutorial.
Yeah, I won't. No, 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 I will. Okay. Snackers, that's all the time we have for this week. Thank you so much for Kareem for bringing Splunk to light for us. This is fantastic. And check us out next week for another episode of Snack Minute.
Thank you, Snackers. Thanks, Matt.
Boom, doom, doom, doom.